Hello there, and welcome back to Let's Love Star Wars, the purely positive Star Wars review show, hosted by me, the guy in the Star Wars shirt. With me is also someone in a Star Wars shirt, probably.
Yes, the
Uh,
different one today. The different
uh,
one today.
uh, David Garcia. We are back to talk about, um, really your favorite of
Yeah,
of the sequel trilogy, Rise of Skywalker. A much maligned film, but we're here to make sense of it.
yeah.
Um, it's just like really parse out our thoughts. I know we've both had it recontextualized. We did that for you.
I yeah, I actually watched the movie like with an open mind, with a positive I don't know the word, with a positive
Mental
feeling.
attitude, just
Yeah, a
good
positive
vibes.
attitude. I tried to, and I actually got some kind of long list of things I want to talk about positively of the movie. So
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe this has made me grow as a person, let go of my hatred, as some in Star Wars will say.
yeah, I would love that.
In 2 weeks, I probably be back to the old grumpy David, but I know. Let's try. Let's try.
We'll see. But we this was going to be a challenging episode for us, no
Yeah,
matter what. So
yeah,
we thought, why not bring in some backup?
yeah.
And I think legally he is here, and legally I have to call him because he is the great Tim Percala.
Oh, that was sweet. That was a nice.
Hey,
One.
team.
I realized I wasn't wearing a Star Wars shirt, but I am. I am. I do have a baby Grogu blanket, so there we go.
That
That
works.
absolutely do.
I'm wearing. I'm on brand. I'm wearing a Middle Earth shirt. So
We should try and get Tim again for
Oh
maybe
yeah,
a
we can
Middle Earth.
definitely get him for Let's Love
So,
Middle
I feel
Earth.
like he has a lot to say. I guess I guess Tim, the best place to start
Yep.
is, how did you come to Star Wars?
Well, I've always had Star Wars. I don't know. I don't know how much older I am than you guys. Not too much older, but I've always like had it. I still have the original VHS tapes of the original trilogy that were like the original ones that came out that my parents had, and I've never not thought about Star Wars, like it's just always been there. So I was 5 when the Phantom Menace came out, so like that was I was around and
I'm
saw.
older than you.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
fair. So I got to see all those in the theater, but yeah, I grew up watching the original trilogy, and then got to see everything else in the theater since then. So yeah, I've always remembered watching it. You have those like memories in your brain of when you were a kid, but can't quite like place the time or whatever. I just weirdly, like, every time I think of the original trilogy, I just remember sitting in front of the TV as a kid, and Dagobah is like one of the big things that just like always sticks out. Is like I just remember Dagobah always like is like the one big thing from my childhood that, like, watching Star Wars on VHS, I just remember Yoda, Dagobah, Luke. And then all of a sudden it was like the prequels came out, and I was like really into the prequels as a kid. And then after the Clone Wars movie came out, it was kind of like when we had that stretch of like no Star Wars. It was just kind of like I didn't watch the Clone Wars when it came out. I've watched it since, but I didn't watch that as it aired on Cartoon Network and Disney and stuff. And then so it was kind of when The Force Awakens came out that I was like, oh yeah, I like Star Wars. And I like went back and like refound my love. So like it's always been there, but it definitely was like 2014 was kind of 2013, 2014 when Disney bought Lucasfilm that I was like, oh yeah, no, I actually really like Star Wars. And so I'm a defender of most Star Wars things, even the stuff that I hate. There's a meme that I've seen a lot of Anakin from Attack of the Clones with the not just the men but the women and the children too.
Yeah.
But it's Anakin saying, I love them all, not just the original trilogy but the prequels and the sequels too. And so there are movies in the series that I definitely like hate, but like I love them still. I would never say I'm not like RJ where like I'll sit here and be like, oh, Attack of the Clones is a masterpiece. Like, I love Attack of the Clones, but I also think it's a shit movie. It's like Star Wars is the only series in the history of film where I'm like, yeah, this movie is ass. I know every word to it. So, yeah, I've always had Star Wars. It's yeah. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's perfect. That is the perfect explanation for the show where we're like, I don't know, it's my number 9, but it's also great. I love it. I guess, I mean, so we've gotten that part out of the way. I guess the rankings probably come next, right, David? I know.
I think we should leave team for last.
I think we should because his maybe a bit more positive than ours. And I guess we should definitely start with you, David.
I mean, I don't know you guys have been following, like, you know, the fan leaks or like the movie trivia community online, but every single time a question about this movie comes up, something in me makes me make a comment. This is my last. This is my last one. This is the movie, the Star Wars movie I like the least.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Yeah, not much to say about it, but I'm gonna be positive, and I found a lot of things to talk about. So, yeah,
I'm incredibly proud of you. I honestly, this was really tough, but on the last rewatch that I did for this movie, I found a lot more I found a lot more in it than I hadn't recognized before. So while it didn't like go up in the rankings necessarily, it made the ranking more competitive, and it really gave me a new appreciation for what's going on. I'd still say it's like my 10. It's
what do you have under it?
Under it is Clone Wars and Attack of the Clones. Just a little bit more meandering, but yeah, I think there's some positive things. It's a little messy, but there's still some positive things. I found a lot to talk about. Tim?
Yeah, I definitely have this higher than I have this at 7.
Okay.
So I don't. It's mid tier to me. Below it, I have Solo, Rogue One, Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Clone Wars, in that order. So, yeah, I definitely, when I saw it the first time, I overestimated my love of it. I think when I first watched it, I gave it like a 4-star and was like, oh, and then like I saw it I saw it 3 times. Well, that man gives everything 5 stars.
That's true.
But and he's also like overly harsh on things that also doesn't need to be as well. But I think I saw this one 3 times opening weekend, and it was one of those things where it was like, the things that I love about it, I really, really love about it, and the things I hate about it, I really hate about it. There's like no like wiggle room on this one for me, so it's kind of why it lands mid-tier Star Wars for me. But yeah, I definitely am probably the one who likes it the most, and we'll get into that. But yeah, 7 is where I have it.
Totally fine. We try not to attack people on rankings for this show.
It's just a positive show.
Yeah, it's a positive show. Well, speaking of positivity, let's go to the most holy place that we have on this show is of course.
I think before that we have to go to the people.
No.
The rankings.
Oh god, the rankings. The rankings for this are going to be wild.
We do have a poll out there.
We haven't. Okay, go ahead.
Actually,
this is wild.
It's not that awful. Oh well. Yeah, it is, because there is the fall of the rise of the return of the revenge of the Baconator. That's.
Oh yeah. That was all me. That was me, baby.
So I think the people agree with you, Alex.
Oh, okay. What do they have under it? I can't remember.
Phantom Menace and the Clone Wars, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so yeah, it's number 10
for
the general rankings of the opening night trivia Facebook group.
Yeah, those dorks. Okay, but the fandom page would be better. So I guess now we do have to go to our most sacred place, the John Williams Corner. Yeah. I love him. This is where we talk about just some of the best score stuffs of the films. I I hope we all picked a different one. I only got to research like one or two. I just know my favorites. I guess we should start with our guest, Tim.
Sure. So I rewatched this today in preparation, and honestly, I think this is the weakest of the soundtracks of the three sequels. I don't think it's bad by any means. I like it quite a bit, but I don't think there's as many like standout musical pieces in this as there are. And actually, let me rephrase. I think the standout musical pieces in the movie are actually ones that were used like previously, because this soundtrack uses a ton of like recycled material, which isn't a bad thing because it's pulling at my heartstrings. But it just uses a ton of music from the original or from the previous 8 films, and I think John Williams said as much going into the movie. Like I remember that being in a lot of news. Was that he was using a lot of the soundtrack, but there's nothing quite like Rey's theme or something from Force Awakens that like hits like as hard. But that being said, just for how like different it is, and it's very minimal, it's like a tiny thing, but I really like the Exegol, if you could call it the Exegol theme, like the music. I think on the soundtrack it's listed as like Journey to Exegol, but just like the like undertone, like darkness, like creepy, like thunderous music while Kylo is entering Exegol and the journey to Exegol, and even I think it starts on Mustafar and everything, like with Kylo there getting the Wayfinder. Anytime he does like big operatic villainous music, like I'm on board for it. So I really like that one. There wasn't too much like other music that like jumped out to me as like, wow, this is really, really great. Like Rey's theme is straight up like one of my favorite like Star Wars pieces, and there's nothing that hits quite like that in this one.
I think you are right about the journey theme, because honestly, the start of this movie is kind of dope. Like, this movie opens strongly. I remember watching it in theater and now rewatching it, that the fight in Mustafar, if that's Mustafar, is it Mustafar? I don't know.
It is. I'm like 90% sure, but I'll find out.
Mhm.
I'll find out while you're talking.
The opening is Mustafar.
I should know it, but so yeah. So yeah, the opening in Mustafar, but the battle against whoever those people are, the journey to Exegol, the conversation with Palpatine, and then the whole Falcon sequence. I think it's a very strong opening that gets you hyped, and it really that music really, it creeps you out, which is a resemblance of Palpatine's theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really works for the planet Exegol. And yeah, I never thought about it being like original for that movie, but I guess it is.
I mean, again, like he uses a lot of like
that's what
other themes and stuff throughout, but yeah, I think some of it is if I'm crazy and it's not original, then
honestly, I don't know. I always thought about this soundtrack like a mashup of all the Star Wars music in the previous movies. So, and I never thought about original themes for it, but I guess that's one, and it's really good. Alex?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with a similarly moody piece. That is gonna be my it's gonna be my a through line for this show. And I'm gonna actually choose Anthem of Evil. It is basically, if there's a part of the film, the song basically sounds like a choir in a hallway that you're at one end of. And it's mostly strings at the beginning, and then it switched to some horns. But the way it's used in the film, it's in the middle of the song, in between the strings and the horns, it crescendos to be this very uncomfortable shrieking noise, which is the instruments. That's not like an effect that they put on. It's all instrument work, and that is the title of the song, Anthem of Evil. It's to show that like there's this long bit of patience, brooding, meditation, orchestration, and then this like peak evil, like harsh uncomfortableness, and then there's like a fallout that leads to the brass, and which is like the rampant aftermath of horrifying events, which I think is like really emblematic of the whole series, being the fall of the Jedi, the crescendo being Order 66 and the Empire, and then all this massive fallout that has been the rest of the story. That I think is just like, it's small, it's barely noticeable, but for me, it's, as I was listening to the soundtrack earlier today, I was like, no, that's it. That's 100% my choice. And there's some like decent songs, but like I actually kind of agree with Tim that this is not necessarily the best score orchestration for the whole film.
It's
film
still
series.
great because it's a John Williams score.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great, but it's, listen, there are significantly, we watch hundreds of movies a year. I think all of us do. There are way worse scores that are put out all the time. David?
Okay, so I went basic on this one, kinda, and I was between two, but I decided to go with the track called "They Will Come,"
Mm-hmm.
which is when it's kind of, I think it's like a remix of the Resistance theme, or the March of the Resistance, so to speak, which I already talked about because it's one of my favorite songs of the sequels. And it sounds while Poe is like trying to wrap his head around being the general now and having to hype up the troops for like the battle and everything. And it starts like with a little with a quiet and I don't have vocabulary for this. It starts with a quiet tone and quiet reminiscence even to the Force theme, and then just goes straight to the March of the Resistance. That with the speech that Poe and Finn give, I really like that scene, especially because it ties in with the ending of The Last Jedi, in my opinion. Because in The Last Jedi, nobody came because everybody was like afraid of the First Order. But after The Last Jedi, with the legend of Luke Skywalker and what happened on Crate and everything, the hope of the people has been restored, and the Resistance again have hope of finding allies that heard about that story and that are going to go to help them, despite not getting any reinforcements in The Last Jedi. And as a huge Luke Skywalker fan as I am, I think that's a great nudge to The Last Jedi, or at least to what Last Jedi wanted to accomplish. And I think the music does it really, really well. And I also really like Oscar Isaac as Poe and John Boyega as Finn. I think their dynamic is really well, and I think they deliver the speech how they have to. And it pumps me. So, okay, yeah, let's go kill some space Nazis now. So,
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I guess, I mean, in terms of like the I don't know if this segment needed to be like super original. Like, I guess it's like a great like reorchestration, like a I don't want to say remix, that sounds lame. It makes like John Williams sounds like a hacky DJ.
Yeah.
I don't want DJ Mustard John Williams, but like it is like a brilliant reworking of like past themes, and Star Wars and Rise of Skywalker and the entire sequel trilogy is nothing if not very nostalgic. So I think it does work. I think that is a fine choice, David. What's the segment I always forget? The battles. Yeah, let's do the battles next, because there's like a few. There's like a few here.
There is a few.
David, any battles caught your eye?
I want to go to Tim first because I have two options.
Oh boy.
And I don't know if and in case one of them is his, I will go to the other one.
Take it away, Tim.
Sure. Yeah, there's a few that I really like. I think that the action and the duels and the fights in this movie are very good. I there's one I really, really like, but it's been ruined for me ever since, and I'll explain if one of you bring it up. But I'll go with Rey versus Kylo on Kijimi. I think that I really like that they didn't just ditch the Force connection stuff from Last Jedi, because that's one of my favorite things from Last Jedi. And I love Kylo Ren and Rey's kind of back and forth relationship, and the fact that they kept the Force connection thing in there and then used that in a fight sequence to kind of have them duel, even though they're in two different places. I thought visually was very, very cool. And there was that shot that was in like every single one of the trailers where they like slice the sabers down or whatever. Like, I just think that's a really cool moment where they like cut something like down on the planet and then it like breaks out into the Kylo's like room. I think that's all really cool. It takes that stuff from Last Jedi where like Kylo's hand is getting wet because Rey is in the rain or something, and just like dials it up to 11 in a duel, and that I think that's really fucking cool. So that would be my battle scene if you count that as a battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. I think I already we taped it a while ago, so I don't remember. I think I gave my opinion about the Force connection between Rey and Kylo. I think I said it because I talked about Luke and Mara and how it was remembered. I think I have said that. I don't know if I. So I really I agree with Tim. I think visually it's great. It's a great dynamic of the battle in different places and how they break stuff and it affects the other, and then how they use it in the end with the lightsaber. The Skywalker call. But yeah, and again, I cannot get enough of Kylo Ren's fight style. I just think it's one of the best fights. I am still not a fan of the lightsaber, but I think his fight style is awesome.
Lightsaber chef's kiss. Sorry, go ahead.
No, this is the show to do that. But yeah, I think Kylo Ren's fight style is just so, again, heavy, and every single blow feels like it could cut you in half if you don't get out of the way. While, for example, Dooku's is like if it gets you, it will just pick you on the shoulder, and if Kylo Ren hits you, it's going to cut you in half. And I really like that sensation. How did you describe it? Kylo Ren fights like you made a description of Kylo Ren. He thinks that he's going to kill you with every single move.
He's not like dueling you. He's like he's like playing executioner in his own head. He's like not. This isn't like a fencing kind of exchange. This is like one of us dies here kind of thing. Wait, what battle are you choosing?
I am choosing. Well, I'm between two, and I think I'm gonna go, because you already picked the lightsaber battle. I'm gonna go with the Battle of Exegol, like the space battle of Exegol. I think, again, visually it's a great space battle, and I think the sentence of like the dialogue of "this is not a navy, they are just people," it represents what Star Wars is. Like, just people from everywhere can rise up against the Empire or First Order or whoever the fuck is in power at that moment, because Star Wars seems to have a problem with their like totalitarian regimes. So I think just because of that scene, and because I really like Poe as a general, and I really like his piloting style, that actually made me feel like, okay, this is good. And also the music of that battle, I never thought the Star Wars main theme could be used effectively in a battle scene, and turns out I was wrong. I always thought of it like a fanfare, celebratory music, but again, it was used in a battle, and I really liked it. That the cameos with Wedge, I love Wedge, so seeing Wedge in that battle was a great thing for me. And as you said, the sequel trilogies are nothing but nostalgic. So yeah, I mean, thousands of Star Destroyers with Death Star lasers is kind of overkill, but hey,
The
gives for a
stakes, maybe the
cool.
stakes. We gotta raise the stakes. Yeah, I totally get the Exegol thing. I think that's like a perfect pick for you. I'm gonna go a little bit more mundane, kind of. I'm gonna take it back to just like pure, just like a lightsaber. Because I think that there is a tendency to think of Kylo Ren as, at least I've had this argument with people that Kylo Ren is kind of a weenie, but like I just like, because that's in context. They've seen the parts of the film where he kind of gets owned occasionally, like in The Force Awakens when he's like been severely injured, in The Last Jedi where he has no idea what's going on, and in this movie where he gets kind of like he gets beaten again by Rey. But I think it's very important to put in context that Kylo Ren, if he wanted to, like, just go somewhere and take something, he absolutely could. So I'm actually gonna go with the opening montage of him like running through dudes on Mustafar as like a very important reminder, because it's him, and like he might have backup, I can't remember.
No, it's
But,
just
like,
him.
No,
it's literally just him walking dudes down,
Yeah.
slicing them in half. He, with a lightsaber, which I think is like a fairly weightless weapon, lifts a dude off of the ground mid slice. That's like a very important reminder that this is actually one of the most dangerous people in the galaxy, and that it's actually kind of amazing that we have anyone that can stop him. It's like very small. It's like minuscule in terms of like the content of the movie, but like to start it off there, I think is like a great bit of it's not flair, it's not anything, but it's just like a great reminder for like, hey, this guy leads the space Nazis. Remember that. There's a reason for that.
Okay, so now anything to add to that? Because honestly, I think I am okay with it,
No.
with how we left the battles.
Yeah.
Now let's just by turn say the things that we really love about this movie, or just we like about this movie. So, Alex, you want to start?
Yeah, so I think on this like past rewatch, it really parsed out in my brain like what my favorite Star Wars characters really are.
Uh-huh.
And I think number one is pretty clear. That is Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think that's like great. I love that. I didn't know that I loved Leia as much as I thought, or as much as I did. Number three, I think, really took me by surprise. And that is Lando Calrissian, played by Billy D. Williams. I think is such a great part of this movie for a lot of reasons, but like Star Wars is filled with some of the most charismatic actors that we've had on on film. Billy D. Williams, I think, is super underrated. Like, we had prime Harrison Ford, and Billy D. Williams was supposed to like do scenes with him and like outact or overact him, and I think he killed it. And in this movie, I mean, he gets to be involved again. And I'm specifically talking about the performance, because like Billy D. Williams isn't like a super working actor. He doesn't get a lot of roles. We don't see him that often. He doesn't just pop up. I think before then he had like that small role in the Lego Batman movie. And before that, the last time I remember seeing him was that one episode of Scrubs with Mandy Moore. So like, we hadn't seen him in the hottest of minutes. He pops up and he's immediately incredibly warm. He hasn't missed a step. And if you go back and watch stuff like his time at Star Wars Celebration where they were releasing the first full trailer, he's so happy to be there. He's so happy to be involved again. And I think that translates perfectly to his character, who is maybe nervous about being involved again. He's still, out in the galaxy, he's still carving out a little slice for himself. But then that character getting told by like the people, like, you still matter. you still have a place. You still can bring meaning to this. And that character being like, you know what, you're absolutely right. He does actually go, he does accept the, what was the line? Give Leia my love. And
Yeah.
Rey says you should give it to her yourself. And then he does. That's like that's a unique invitation. It's like one of the best line and responses, I think, in probably the entire in the trilogy, but maybe in the entire series. Is one of my absolute favorite line and responses, just because it's so fitting and it means so much, probably not just to the character but also the actor. Because like, how often is this guy gonna pop up again? It's not going to get very many roles, unfortunately, because that's Hollywood. But he does get to have one final thing, one final bit that is just him. He gets to have scenes with Oscar Isaac. He gets to have scenes with Daisy Ridley. He gets to like be involved again, and I think you can really tell that it means a lot to him. And it honestly, it warms my heart. There's honestly almost nothing like
it. I'm gonna go now because I think Tim is the one that has most positive things to say about this movie.
Sure.
So I don't want to run out of them. One of the things that I want to, I already said that the start of the movie, I think the pace is great. You talked about Billy D. Williams. I want to talk about Oscar Isaac and Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron is my favorite new character of the sequels, and it's not even close. I think Poe. I mean, we already discovered how great of an actor and how charismatic of an actor Oscar Isaac is now with Moon Knight and a lot of things that he has been involved in.
Apocalypse.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Apocalypse. Most things that man touches, he makes gold out of them. And I think Poe Dameron has, in my opinion, one of the best arcs of this trilogy. And it's really like a standard Star Wars arc. It's like you start as a pilot that you care about the cause, but you are a trigger happy flyboy, and then you learn about responsibility. You learn how big the world is with the Force when he meets Rey, and now you grow, you evolve, and then you become a leader. And I think how Poe makes it and how we discover his Spice Runner origins. I just really like Poe and his relationship with Finn. We often joke about the general exchange because I think it's something you would do with a best friend.
Yeah.
I have a friend, it's not a friend, it's an acquaintance that I knew when I was a kid, that his name is David, and we don't talk to each other. But when we cross each other on the street, we still do David, and that's it. I can see that guy. I won't see that guy maybe in a year, but when we see each other again, we know how we have to greet each other. And I think that's a thing that you can see with Poe and Finn. Sure, they have that little disagreement about Rey, but they have their backs. And how happy Poe is at the end of the movie when he goes like to Finn and they hug. I think that relationship is so great, and it has been so great throughout all of the movies. And Poe Dameron and Oscar Isaac is just, in my opinion, the best new character. And I just wanted to give him a shout out.
Yeah. It's my turn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tim, do it.
Okay, so yeah, my favorite sequel character is Kylo Ren. I have gone so far to say that Kylo Ren is probably my favorite Star Wars character now. That's how much I love this man. And I think that he's the best part of this movie, in my opinion. I love what they do with Kylo Ren. There's something that I absolutely hate, which I'll save it for a very small thing at the end after I get over what I love, because that's what we're here for. But I think that the transition from, I should say, I think that it was going to be a very hard sell to get me to say, Kylo Ren, you should be redeemed. Like you should be I as a fan redeem you, and I think they pulled it off pretty well. Because when you go from, like, I remember being in the theater in for Force Awakens, and when you realize that Kylo Ren is the son of Han and Leia, and just realizing what that kind of does to the story, because they let you know like 30 minutes into the movie, which I thought was great, and that adds that whole layer that he fucking kills his dad, and then you move into all like how deep his relationship with Rey gets in Last Jedi, and him killing Snoke and whatever, and then still going like ape shit crazy at the end of Last Jedi. I was like, there's no way they can redeem this guy, and there's just no way. And I just like had all of these like images in my head going into Rise of Skywalker about like how the movie was going to end with this like huge battle between like Rey and Kylo, and it was going to be like epic, and then they flipped it and redeemed him, and I feel like I thought that it worked really well. And I think bringing back Harrison Ford for that scene, that's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. People complain like, he's not a Force ghost, like the Han can't come back. I'm like, it's his dad and his like memories, talking to his dad in his head, like get over it. I think it's fantastic, and I think Harrison Ford, who I don't think probably wanted to come back and do it, gives a very good performance, and that scene is super emotional. And I think they totally earn the fact that Kylo can turn, because we saw in Last Jedi, like, Kylo's kind of a mama's boy and doesn't want to shoot down Leia in the ship. And so the fact that Leia can come through the Force to speak to Kylo and have that be the beginning of like his little turn there, I think works really well. The fact that then he goes and, you know, literally just like utterly destroys the Knights of Ren, I think is fucking awesome. He decimates them, and it's amazing. I think that the shot of like him and Rey like side by side, blue lightsaber up, is just like, oh, amazing. Bless up. Like, I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I just even take away like the goods, like the being a good hero character at the end stuff, like Alex was talking about earlier. The opening scene on Mustafar, motherfucker's a badass. I love the scene where he's just like, the man is piloting a what is it? What is it? A Y-wing? No, it's not a Y-wing. It's a whatever his ship is. I don't remember what it is.
Oh, but I don't know.
But he's like flying straight at Rey on, is it like Pasana? I think is it. And he's like ready to just fucking take her out, and he's such a badass. And then just the way that he just like walks out of like the dust and everything, the same way he like walks through the rain during the fight on whatever the planet is. It's not Endor, is it?
No,
I can't think of what it is, but you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, in the ruins or whatever. I think he's just an absolute utter badass. The one thing that I think the thing the movie does the best is, for me, a fan of Kylo Ren, like complete fanboy of Adam Driver and the character, to see him actually get a good finish to his arc, because I think that while I could do without the kiss, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't bother me. Everybody like freaked out. I wish he would have stayed alive, if I'm being completely honest, but I also 100% understand that like he can't, like, in the eyes of us we can redeem him, but in the eyes of the galaxy, like, what, he's just good now? Like, no, like the people would freak out and go crazy, the same way that there was no way that Darth Vader could move on and be like, yeah, Luke, I'll just be your dad now. Let's go hang out and throw the ball. Like, there was nowhere for Kylo Ren to go in the galaxy. So I get why he like had to die, but also I think that had he stayed alive, that kiss, that moment would have been a lot more impactful, but it doesn't bother me. And yeah, I think he's the best part of the movie and the best arc in the movie. The thing that I will say pisses me off, and if you don't know this and this ruins it for you, I'm very sorry. But the man talks to Han Solo, right, on the Death Star ruins.
Yeah.
And he says, "Dad," and then he goes, and then Han says, "I know," and he throws the lightsaber. Motherfucker doesn't say another word in the rest of the movie. And it drives me bananas because I didn't notice the first 2 times I saw it. And then I was on Twitter, and I remember we were going to see it. It was still opening weekend, and we were going to go see it in IMAX. And I was like, yes, IMAX Star Wars, let's fucking go. And I just see a tweet that was like, yeah, Kylo Ren doesn't say a single word in the entire Exegol thing. So he takes out the Knights of Ren. He goes to Rey. He fights Palpatine. He kisses Rey, and he dies. Doesn't say a word in that whole 30 minutes. And that drives me absolutely bananas. But I still think the fight and everything is really, really awesome. But that's why I couldn't pick that as my battle earlier. Otherwise I would, because I think the fight against the Knights of Ren is very good. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I think that the dialogue thing, because my sister, like you, loves Kylo Ren, loves Adam Driver, and she's like a huge Reylo fan. And she told me that that's because there were a lot of reshoots, and the ending of that is that it wasn't supposed to happen, and I think JJ kind of mushed it together at the end, and that's why he doesn't have any dialogue. And one of as a curiosity, I think in the script he does have another line, and the line is like, "Ow," when he falls down to the chain.
Oh yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he does. I think he does say,
I think that line is scripted
on the subtitles or something. Yeah, he grunts or something. But
yeah, yeah. As a side note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, I am going to go now because I'm going to piggyback off something you said, because I really like, you mentioned Leia and how Kylo Ren is a mama's boy. Mm-hmm. And I think how they treated Leia in this movie is great. Mm-hmm. They unfortunately didn't have a lot to work with because sadly Carrie Fisher passed away shortly after Last Jedi came out. But I think they gave Leia kind of I'm not going to say it's the greatest homage, but I think they did what they had to do. They showed her as a master, which I think it's something that we wanted to see as soon as we knew Leia could use the Force. We saw her train with Luke in one of my favorite scenes of the movie. The CGI, hate it, love it, I don't care. Just when they put up their helmets, I freaked out because I really saw Jean-Luc and Jack Leia training with a lightsaber, and as a original trilogy fan, that warmed my heart to no end. And then I have it, and yeah, I think dying, saving Rey's life, because Kylo Ren was going to kill her. Leia dying to save Rey's life and to kickstart Kylo Ren's turn back to Ben Solo, which Han Solo couldn't do. I think it's the way to go. And it was the way to go. I personally would have loved for Leia to be the one to survive of the Golden Trio, and I think that was the direction they were going. But sadly, I understand why they did it, and they had to do it. So yeah, it's a little thing, but I really wanted to shout out Leia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh dear. We covered Poe already. I had a lot to say about Poe, but you kind of scooped me on Poe. So I guess what I will talk about, as I want to do, is the greater concept of the depth of friendship in this movie in particular, because there is I mean, if you want me to like your movie, just make it about a group of friends getting into trouble, because that's that I love that. But they are very mentally tied into each other. So Poe is nervous and he goes to Finn and says, "Hey, I cannot do this without you." you're my, I need you here to run this job with me. I can't do this by myself. And it's not like, oh, thanks, yeah, right. It's okay, yeah. What are we gonna do? Yeah, by the way, thank you, General. It's he takes it like they all take each other so seriously. Even when they're arguing at the start of the film, they come back, light speed skipping, all that.
The compressor.
They're arguing, but it's not in a way that's like they're not like she's mad at him and he's yelling back, but it's only because like you would only yell at this person because it's that person. If it was like if it was Snap, you'd be like, dude, you okay? Like, it's not bothering to see if he's okay. She's yelling at him because he was in danger for like a while. And she just doesn't know how to process it yet. They have this like emotional vulnerability that's really hard to find in a lot of the movies that we have to see. It's very I don't want to say the word toxic masculinity because I don't think that that's the right phrase, but like the concept of we have to be tough all of the time is realistic, because there are definitely times, and I know that like with David, I think me and David have had very long talks about like what is everything and why is life, and I should stop doing this and I should keep doing that. And he approaches it honestly in the exact same way that this movie does, and that is to take it very seriously. Yeah, we can do jokes later, but are you okay right now? And I think that there's no better encapsulation to bring it back to Leia and to say, like, there's a great quote that she has. It says, don't tell me what things look like. Tell me what they are. Like, are you okay? How are you emotionally right now? And I think that's like, for a film series about like universally empathetic beings, having check-ins on like, or having these characters check in emotionally on each other is like super important, because we didn't do that in other trilogies. And you know what? It was a real mistake. It was a real problem.
Yeah, it caused 2 more trilogies.
Yeah. we could save a lot of time. But no, that's just something I like. It's a general concept of friendship.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So I have like 2 little character moments that I want to talk about, and then we are going to give the floor to our guest star to finish.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like you have the most things to say about this movie, and I think it will be best to finish with you, with a real lover of the movie.
Sure.
So I'm going to say 2 little character moments. I think C-3PO. I love C-3PO in this movie. I genuinely laugh.
He's one of the best parts of the movie.
Yeah, I laugh a lot with C-3PO in this movie. When he's explaining the Pasana festival, the Aki-Aki Pasana festival of the ancestors, and everybody looks at him and he goes like, I cannot. But I think the fact that he gets his due, and Rey tells him, and I think this is a great line, you know the odds better than anyone. Tell us the odds that finally in a movie he's able to say what he thinks and what he has been able to calculate, when throughout 9 movies he has been made to shut up.
Yeah, I
think it's a great character moment, and I think him making that sacrifice, I mean, I would have liked it more if it stayed like that, because I think it kind of takes away the weight of C-3PO's sacrifice. But I think
it's the same thing with the Chewie thing. Like,
yeah,
I would have rather Chewie stayed dead, if I'm being completely honest. It would have made that moment a lot more powerful. But yeah.
So I think Rey telling him that, and Rey and C-3PO actually being able to calculate the odds, tell everybody how things are, and making the decision himself, I think it's a great character moment, because yeah, we love C-3PO. He has been there for every single movie.
Yeah.
And it's like he not always he gets his due. And just as a Luke person, seeing him finally lifting the X-Wing out of the water was just...
This was coming and we couldn't stop it.
It was just, okay, cool. And I remember it was at the point, when I first watched the movie, at that point I was out. I was out of the movie. I was completely out. I was angry with the movie and I was ready to walk out. But I remember when Luke lifted the X-wing, I was like, okay, okay.
That's fair. Was you good?
Yeah. The floor is
Okay.
yours.
Another thing that I thought of while we were talking was involving Leia was and this is a really sad moment, but I think it works super well. Is Chewie's reaction to the news that Leia's died is heartbreaking. And I don't think I've never talked to somebody who will say, that was stupid. No, like you rarely see Chewie upset. And even when Han died, Chewie's pissed, but he's pissed. So like he screams out, he yelps, and he shoots Kylo, which is a kid that, he basically probably grew up with, like helping raise on the Falcon with before he went off with Luke. But he's pissed, he blows shit up and runs. When he hears that Leia's dead, he falls on his knees and is like just so violently upset. Like I think it's Poe tries to go up to him and like put his hand on him, and Chewie just pushes him away, and it's just like, I think again, it's not like a happy moment, but that's like one of those moments where like I don't think Leia's I think the on paper the death of Leia like works really well, like what you were saying, David. Like it had to be that way, and the way that she is the one to kind of make that turn and save Rey, but help turn Ben back, I think works really well. But the actual like emotional part of it doesn't really hit, I don't think, versus it does hit when Finn and Poe and Chewie are reacting to it. And especially Chewie. I think it's one of my I am hesitant to say favorite because it's a very sad moment. But it's just, I think it works emotionally very well. So that's a big moment that I think is really great. Honestly, like there's not too many characters in this movie that I dislike. Like I like the new characters. I always Zori, right? That's her name. I always forget her name. I think that she's a really fun addition, and learn, like you said about Poe. Poe is probably my second favorite of the new characters. And so to get more backstory on him, I love that moment on Kijimi. Like me and Maggie talk about that scene a lot, where you were a spice runner, you were a scavenger, you were a stormtrooper. We could do this all day. Like I love that scene and that line. And so I think like the stuff that comes between Zori and Poe like works really well. Just like when they're getting ready to leave Kijimi, and he's like, "Can I kiss you?" And she's like, "Go." I'm like, "Oh, Poe," because it's just like Poe is just like he's a big dog with a bunch of bark and then like not a ton of bite. Like he's kind of a teddy bear at the end of the day, and like I love those moments. And just like there's other moments with Poe, just like of pure joy and excitement, where like at the Battle of Exegol when they're on the ships and he thinks like, shit, we're kind of done here, and then he hears Lando over the intercom or whatever you want to call it, and it's just like, but you're not alone, Poe. And just like he's so excited that everyone's there, and like all of the ships when they show up, it's so fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
Like it is such a good like Star Wars moment of like all the ships, like David was talking about, like coming together from a bunch of different places and fighting. And also, you sneak in and stuff from Rebels and stuff. Like, yeah, I'm game for that any day of the week. You add anything remotely Rebels or Clone Wars in there, and I'm there for it. I also think that the staying on Exegol, the final fight, hearing all of the Jedi, I think is awesome. And I actually really love it. I think I've heard a lot of people shit on it, saying that it's like nostalgia, it's a manipulation moment. I think it works really well, especially when you hear like it could have easily just been like Yoda and and Luke and Leia, but they throw in Kanan and Ahsoka and and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon and Anakin, and it's just like, man, and like when you pick out those voices, and Mace Windu, and like you pick out those voices, and it's just like, this is really cool. Like all of the Jedi as part of the Force, like coming through and speaking to Rey, I really, really like. And I don't give a fuck. I've heard a lot of people complain about this too. I really like the dialogue response, the I am all the Sith and I am all the Jedi. Like, I love that. I think it's awesome. That was a moment where I saw this for the first time, and me and Maggie were both like, let's go, like, yeah. So I think that's a really, really great moment. And I actually like, again, Rey Skywalker, I like it. I don't really care. I think that, like, I think at the end of the day, if I was looking for, like, if I was the one writing this movie and I was, or looking at this movie and someone was like, hey, write the final scene of this movie, I probably would have said, well, if she keeps the name Palpatine, that would be like pretty cool as far as like the character confirming like her identity, like she knows where her family is and has overcome that. But at the same time, like, I totally get why they went the way they did. Like, the Skywalkers are pretty much dead and gone at this point, and she found a family and a group of people that accepted her and trained her and taught her. And so it makes sense to me having that name come with her at the end. And also, we stan BB-8 in the Rapala household, and we haven't mentioned BB-8 yet, but the fact that the final shot of this movie has Rey and BB-8 and the two sons, I'm like, bless up, like that to me is fantastic. BB-8 is, I might like BB-8 more than Poe Dameron, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a big BB-8 fan. He's pretty fucking great. Number 2 droid. I'm gonna say that it's R2D2 and then BB-8.
Okay. For a second there, I thought you were going to say I may like BB-8 more than R2D2.
No. R2D2 is the sassy bitch that everybody needs in their life. R2D2 is, I fucking love R2D2. But yeah, so to have BB-8 as like that constant like companion for Rey, I love that, because The Force Awakens is my second favorite Star Wars movie, actually. And so the introduction of that relationship, how it kind of like carries through, like BB-8's just like a little puppy, and I love it. I think that's fantastic. So honestly, like I said, the things that I like about the movie, like I really, really love. So the Kylo Ren stuff, I think that, again, do I wish that Rey had stayed a nobody? Yes, absolutely. I hate that they went back on it from a like writing and like production side of it. I think it's so much more powerful for her to be a nobody. We are in a universe of millions of planets and thousands upon thousands of characters. Not everybody needs to be related to everybody. I say that all the time with Star Wars, which is why I'm excited for stuff like The Acolyte, because I want to see things that don't involve this 70 years, 60 years of time that we have seen in Star Wars. Like, I don't give a shit anymore. Like, I want to see something else. And so do I wish that she had just been a nobody? I do think the message of The Last Jedi at the end of like anybody, it's very similar to Into the Spider-Verse. Anybody can wear anybody can wear the mask. Anybody can have the Force. The Force lives in everyone. It kind of undermines the midi-chlorians thing, but I think that's fine. I think that works. And to take that away in this movie, I think was a mistake. But that being said, I don't think that it's as big of a dumpster fire as people make it out to be. I think that Rey's always had a bit of a darker side to her, an edge to her, from like the first moments we see her to this movie. Do they amp it up from like 4.5 to 72? Yes. But I still think that she's very true to the character, and it makes sense in the scheme of things of the movie. It makes sense. And So I'm into it. I dig it. Honestly, the things that the reason I have it as low as I do, like at a 7, is because the things I don't like about it, I really, really, really don't like about it. And so it puts it further down. But, and this isn't meant to be a shot at you, David, so don't take this the wrong way, but they're just like, because Kylo Ren is like such an important character to me. I love Poe. I love BB-8. And I think those arcs are done very well, is what puts this movie up for me. And I just don't understand how there are people who watch this movie like, and specifically, I'll shout him out because he won't give a fuck if I make fun of him. But Caleb Coho is one of them where he's like, dumpster fire, half a star, worst movie ever. And I'm like, so there's nothing in this movie you like literally nothing. Like there's like, even David, you've said like a lot of stuff that you really like about the movie, but it's still, and it's still your least favorite. Totally fair. It's the people that sit there and go, oh man, this is shit. And I'm just like, wow, I can't wait for 15 years from now when you're on Twitter saying how it's a misunderstood masterpiece, because I truly believe that the people who are today now being like, Attack of the Clones was actually very misunderstood, like, are the same people that are gonna like be praising Rise of Skywalker in a few years. And like we said at the top, like, I love all Star Wars, like even the bad stuff, and this is no different to me. Like, I think it's a mixed bag of a movie, but the stuff I love, I just love so much. And like, I don't know, I can never say that I like hate a Star Wars movie, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, Alex, I'm going to steal, because Tim is here, I'm going to steal Nick's line and say, put a bow on it.
There you go. Fair.
Everyone gets a shout out here today. Just like your movies that you like, and if someone named Caleb Coho attacks it, actually, you know what? Just remember that Caleb Coho is putting himself through Picture This, so he's really finding out what a half a star movie is. The man is learning. So don't worry, he's being checked as we speak. I don't know. I guess just like your movies, and if someone disagrees, just be like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
But I guess for everyone here at Let's Love Star Wars, I mean, let's close the show and say, from all of us to you, may the Force be with you always.